Roberts, who is the area vegetable specialist with the Texas Extension Service. And Dr. Roberts, here the other day, we talked to you about some of the crops we can plant this fall and will produce later on in weeks to come. It's not too late to plant a garden right now for fall. And we're going to talk about planting some different kinds of plants this time. What do we have here?
Well, Bob, we've got the members of the cabbage family. Here's a cabbage in my right hand, a young cabbage plant about 5 weeks old, and a broccoli plant. Both of these vegetables will grow on rapidly as we approach cooler weather of fall, and they're both tolerant of frost, so that once, for instance, in the case of the broccoli will start producing. Green Comet hybrid will do this. You pick the first head, and it'll continue on producing additional crops all the way through the fall, well into November, and sometimes into December.
Dr. Roberts, you have a unique way of doing this. You don't go in and break up the soil again. You just actually transplant right, whether you're planting seed or transplanting plants like this, and you take advantage of whatever mulch you have too, though.
That's one of the advantages of mulching, Bob. Wherever the mulch has lain on the surface of the soil for a couple of months, it's quite moist and very soft underneath, and so it's just a matter of, in this case, digging a hole and transplanting.
Dr. Roberts, would you plant cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower? Is there a reason for putting them together there? Is it for the convenience of harvest, or do they complement each other in any way?
Well, one of the things we've been doing, the reason is that we're trying to plant in families. One of the ways that we're managing this particular alley garden is to plant in families. We kept the early cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli and kohlrabi together as a family. We're doing the same thing with the later crops here, trying to keep them in the same place in the garden so that we can rotate. When we go in and plant an entirely new crop next year, it will be one of a different family. It will be one that will not perpetuate the same diseases and so on. So this way, by keeping the families together, we make a clean break, and this way we avoid buildup of nematodes and diseases and things like that.
Okay, let's get into the physical aspects of actually transplanting these plants. I'm going to kind of scoot back here and get out of your way. So,
well, hope we can see this, because we've got, this is our second crop of broccoli. This would be our summer crop of broccoli there, which we'll start harvesting in about a week or so. And over in here, we'll plant this plant, which will be our fall, early winter crop. If people have not got plants or cannot get a hold of plants, there's still time. You can actually put in seed and still get a crop of broccoli. You just won't be able to pick as long, harvest as long from it. It's just an easy matter to pop those plants out of a little cell pack and then plant them so that you just cover that root ball, putting it a little bit deeper, about a ½ inch deeper than it was in the container from the nursery, or your own containers if you grow them. And then, just as with all other plants that we planted earlier, it's important to get water on them immediately, because we're in for some more hot weather. Good to get about a pint of water on in that soil to firm the soil around the plant. And then later on, in a few days after we've watered it again for 2 or 3 times, we'll draw this mulch back in around the plant. And as you can see, the soil beneath that mulch is nice and moist. It's got good moisture under there, and that's the purpose of it. We don't use very much water at all. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, the only place we'll need water is right around the plant. We're getting the water, of course, from our little drip irrigation system, which is covered up with mulch here. You can see there's the drip irrigation line. So that keeps the soil moist, and it is important to water for at least a couple of weeks, applying the water right around the plant until it's established, and then the drip irrigation will take over.
Dr. Robert, when we reasonably expect harvest of such a plant that you're transplanting now, roughly how many days, or when would you reasonably expect to harvest it?
This plant will start, it will produce its first head sometime along in early October. From plants with broccoli, it's somewhere between 55 and 60 days. Now, a lot depends on the weather. If the weather turns cooler than normal, we will get faster growth with these, with the broccoli and cabbage. If it's hotter than usual, then the growth will be slower, actually.
Do plants like this respond to daylight like trees and other things as far as maturing, or is it strictly a temperature type thing, or do we really know?
These, the broccoli is about a day neutral. We'd consider it day neutral. One of the things that happens in the fall, though, with broccoli of this sort, it will grow a little bit taller, but it's more of a response to the cooler temperature. The cooler night temperatures and day temperatures too will allow the plant, the stem and the leaves and the head to get bigger. The heads of the early broccoli that we harvested were only about 4 inches in diameter. These heads will go probably, I would say, up to 8 or 10 inches across. It will be bigger. But it's a temperature response more than day length.
One general question, does the size of the family have any relation on how much you should plant of any one variety of thing? I should guess it should. If you have a large family, you'd normally plant more, and if you just have a small family, don't overplant unless you plan to give some to the neighbor.
That's right. With the green comet, which produces side shoots, for instance with broccoli, we try to get one plant per family member. It doesn't seem like very much, but you don't just harvest it once. You continue to harvest over a longer period of time. But for a larger family, a half a dozen would be plenty for one crop.
So in kind of summing up here, it's not too late to plant the fall garden. And of course, if you don't have your ground, your soil in shape, you need to get that in shape. Now,
right.
This soil here has been worked for more than 1 year even.
That's right. If there's any weeds, or if the soil is compacted, and if the soil has not been mulched, of course there'll be a little bit of a crusting effect on top, and for this reason you'd need to till it. Where mulch has been used, you generally don't need to replow.
Another day in the People Place Alley Garden, we've been talking with Dr. Roland Roberts, area vegetable specialist with the Texas Extension Service, and now back to the Alice Branch People Place show.